Okay, so we are up to Mishnah Perik Chamish, the fifth parak of Pirkei Avos, Mishnah Dalet. We saw last week in Mishnah Gimel, where the Mishnah goes through the 10 nisyonis, the 10 challenges, tests that Avraham Avinu went through. And we had a question which I still don't have a good answer to. You asked the question that test number 4 was that Sarah was taken to Paro. Just run through it quickly. So test number 1 was Ur Kastin, that Avram was thrown into the furnace, the burning furnace. 2 was that he was commanded to leave his land, go to Eretz Yisrael. We discussed the Darish Moshe Feinstein's explanation of why that's an Nisayon, because he was promised fortune and fame. Number 3, he gets to Eretz Yisrael, he has to go down to Mitzrayim because there was a Rav, there was a famine, so it doesn't make sense. You tell me to come here. Once I get here, I have to go down. It doesn't make sense. Number 4, Sarah was taken to Paro. That was a Nisayon. Number 5 was the war against the 4 kings. He had to have bitachon. He went out with just over 300 men against 4 kings and have bitachon in Hashem that he would be saved. That was number 5. Number 6 was the bris milah when he was 99 years old. There was a sakana, he put himself in danger. Again, bitachon, trust in Hashem that he'll be okay. Number 7 was, again, Sarah was taken to Avimelech. As the question was, why is Avram being tested twice? It's the same sign. So why is it happening twice? We'll get back to that in a second. That's Hashem. Number 8, he had to banish Hagar and Yishmael. This is his son. And he had to banish him because Sarah said so, and Hashem said whatever Sarah says, listen to her. So he had to do it. And it bothered him. We were clearing last week. Did it bother him that he had to actually send him out? Did that bother him? But that part was easy. What bothered him was that his son was on a level where he had to be thrown out of the house. So once he's on that level, so then, okay, he has to protect the Yitzchak, and that was easy for him. But what bothered him was, how could his son sink to that level? Maybe he felt he could have done something, or just the Metzias that he was on that level bothered him. That was an Nisayon. Number 9 was the Akedas Yitzchak, offering of Yitzchak, and number 10 was the Kfuras Sarah, was burying Sarah. So we spoke out last week from a big friend that you would think that that's not the hardest Nisayon would not be buying the plot for Sarah. Okay, it was difficult. You had to handle with the Shaister, with Ephraim, how much money, 400 shekel kesef over the Soich was very expensive, but okay, whatever, he had the money for it. So why was that the 10th Nisayon? Why was that the hardest Nisayon? Sacrificing one's son is the bigger Nisayon. So my friend says, and I'm not sure if he's quoting someone or it's he himself, a very true statement that the Nisayon that you don't know is a Nisayon is often the greatest Nisayon. So the example he gives is that you had to check out by the Winn-Dixie and the cashier is moving slow. And so you give her some comment, could you hurry up? You don't say, please, hurry up. Or, she's checking you, whenever it's your turn by the cashier, they always say hello to you. They say, good morning, whatever. So you're on your phone. The person's on his phone, right? So to treat that person like a mensch, that's a Nisayon. But it's a Nisayon that we don't realize is the Nisayon. That's a hard Nisayon. When a person is told, Hashem comes and says, sacrifice your son, that's very difficult to sacrifice one's son. But I know, the person knows he's doing it for Hashem. There is a certain glory in the Mesiras Nefesh. But when he comes back from the Akedah and his son almost died, and his wife Taka died, he just wants to bury her and move on, or bury her and mourn, and he has to deal with this guy, this slimy fellow. Hashem can't give him this, just to bury his wife in peace. He has to get up there and all this diplomatic double talk, and please speak to them, and I'll speak to you. So that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, because it's an Nisayon that he doesn't know. A person doesn't realize it's an Nisayon. So that's what my friend says is the 10th Nisayon. It's the hardest Nisayon. Right? We have tens, if not hundreds, of Nisayonis every day. We just don't realize it always that we're being faced with a Nisayon. When the guy say you can't pray, I don't mean by COVID, but when they say there's a gzeira against the Yidden that they can't daven, all of a sudden there's Mesiras Nefesh for davening. But when it's some issue at home that you could tend to, you can come to shul. But when it's a person's tired, that's the bigger Nisayon than going underground when the guy say no praying at all because anti-Jewish thing. Either way, coming back to our question, what's our question? Our question is, number 4, was Sarah taken to Paroi? And number 7 was Sarah taken to Avimelech. So What's pshat? So the emes is, I asked this question in my house, but it was last Sunday. I don't remember exactly what everyone said. I think my wife and one of my daughters had a very good answer. We wanted to tie up, it could be, and I think one of them said, the Nisayan was that it happened twice. It's one thing, it happens once, right? So Hashem made him go to Orkasdim, he told him to travel to Eretz Yisrael, to go down to Mitzrayim. There's a certain agmas nefesh, I think my name said this last week, where you stub your toe and then you stub it again. The Gemara in Chulin says that's like Yisurin, that if you hurt yourself where you hurt yourself before, and a person hurts themselves or they hurt themselves beforehand, that's mamash Yisurin. So to have it happen again was like, okay, what's going on? It could be that was it. And we also mentioned that with Avimelech, so Avram was married to Sarah for many, many years, and then no children. All of a sudden, 9 months around after she's taken to Avimelech, Yitzchak is born. So Hashem made Yitzchak look like Avraham. So that people shouldn't, and also after Sarah nursed all the babies, they thought, number one, maybe she took some from the shuk. Number two, they thought that maybe it was Avimelech's child. They don't know what happened the night that she was taken from Avimelech. But lo and behold, she's married to Avram for decades, nothing. She marries Avimelech, 9 months, or she's with Avimelech one night, at least in the same house. 9 months later, there's a baby. So maybe that was part of the Nisayan. That even the child they had, they couldn't fully enjoy it. In an Olam Hazeh, they could perspective. It was marred with the tabloids running these articles that were not flattering. Maybe that was it. So that was our question from last week. I think the question is better than the answer, so we still have to search. Okay, yeah.
What you just said seems like the test. I mean, the fact that she was taken twice, okay, but different things happened each time. Like Paro, he became wealthy, or he was escorted. I forget the exact Rashi at the pasuk, but at one of them, he was escorted out like a mensch. Another one, he was just said leave, and one of them, with the pregnancy and everything else. Those were the tests. What was the outcome of it? The taking was one thing, but what was the outcome and what was the lesson learned from it? I think that's really what the Nisayan was.
Right. No, the whole episode you're saying. Yeah, no, I agree. That's the answer. One of them at least. Okay, so that's Mishnah Gimel. Mishnah Dal says the Mishnah, Asara Nisim Nasu La'avoseinu b'Mitzrayim. There were 10 miracles that happened to our forefathers in Egypt. Va'asara al Hayom. And there were 10 miracles that happened on the Yam Suf. Then we have Eser Makos Hevia Kodesh Baruch Hu ala Mitzrayim b'Mitzrayim. Then we have 10 Makas, 10 plagues that Hashem brought onto the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians in Mitzrayim. Va'asara al Hayom. And 10 plagues on the Yam Suf. Because the Haggadah is saying. Okay, very good. So the Mishnah is saying 10. And it's interesting, the Mishnah is saying there are 10 miracles to the Jews, and then 10 plagues to the Egyptians in Mitzrayim, and then 10 miracles on the Yam Suf, and then 10 plagues on the Yam Suf to the Mitzrayim. So it's a parallel. So Mordechai Tzvi is asking that in the Haggadah we say there are more. Rabbi Akiva, I think, says there each Makkah in Mitzrayim was really 4, and then one says each Makkah was really 5, and on the Yom there was 250. So there are many more. So this Mishnah is going with what we understand is a simple pshat. I think that's just because we go with Rashi al Torah. The simple pshat, which is there were 10. So says the Rabbeinu, what are the 10 nisim that happened to Klal Yisrael in Mitzrayim? What are the 10 miracles? Says the Rabbeinu, the 10 miracles were the 10 plagues that happened to the Egyptians, and none of them happened to the Yidden. So the Yidden were spared, and it didn't make sense. It was a break in nature. It was a breach of nature, of the Teva. A good trivia question for next Seder, remind me. Of all the 10 Makkahs, 9 out of 10 it says explicitly that the Jews were unaffected. There's one Makkah that it seems to imply that everybody got the Makkah. Uvakulan mefurish behen levad makas hakinim. Kinim, lice, was the only makkah where it doesn't say that the Yidden didn't get it. Rather, what does it says? But what does it say? Vatiha kinam ba'adam uvagahema. The kinim came to man and animal. So that sounds like it came to all. Adam, it could refer to everyone. Sometimes it refers only to goyim, but sometimes it refers only to Adam kiyamas ba'oil. We had in Parshas Chukas last week only to Yidden, to Odma Behema. The Torah Shebechsav does not differentiate between the Yidden and the Mitzrayim. It's a tradition from the Chachamim, and this Makkah also the Yidden were not affected by it. So those are 10 miracles. The 10 miracles for the Yidden were the 10 Makkahs that didn't affect. Then we had 10 miracles on the Yam Suf. What were the 10 miracles? Harishon Kriyas Yam Suf. The first miracle was the actual splitting of the sea, the Kriyas Yam Suf. Shneimar, it says, Vayibaku Hamayim. The water split. That was the first miracle on the Yam. Hashem, the second one, Shenasu Hamayim Kikeshes Kimin Kuba. The water was like a rainbow. So they were like in a box almost. The Nimtzu Hamayim Humayla. The water was on top of them. Like it says in Chavakuk, Nakavta, the Matov Roishi Prozim. It's a miracle that the water made like a dome over them, an arch. Ashlishi, Kinivku Hamayanas Tavim Rabba. So all the water table, we call it today, broke open, the water started gushing out from the bottom. Leinisha Revish Vitit Bekarka Isa Kishar Mayanas Kiyavshu, but it all dried out. Even though the Mayanas had to hide, the depths opened up, but still the ground was dry. Ach Ke'evin Shayish, it was like marble, it was as hard as marble. Ke'evin Shayish, Nisha Tachtisa. They were walking without getting dirty, without getting muddy. There is a Medrash Rabbah that says some of them, their shoes were getting dirty, but the Ben Yonah is going, their feet did not get dirty whatsoever. They're walking like on marble. That was number 3. Number 4, that when the Mitzrayim went, it was like mortar. It was like not a quicksand. It was like mud, like a thick mud. Like the pasuk says, "Darachta b'yam susecha chomer mayim rabim." Shegam susei hamitzrayim mesurim b'yad HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even the horses of the Egyptians were in Hashem's hand. V'al kemar susecha, Hashem is horses. So while for the Yidden it was as hard as marble, for the Egyptians it was like a thick mortar, and they were getting stuck in it. That was number 4. So it's just interesting that the water split was of practical benefit to Klal Yisrael. That the karka, the sea, the floor, the ocean floor, sea floor was dry, was a positive benefit to Klal Yisrael, practical. That the water was a keshes, was a dome, that wasn't really necessarily a practical benefit. That was a miracle, but if the water just would have been a wall or just would have just disappeared, that would have also been fun.
How about shade?
Okay, maybe shade then, right? The anonym, with the anonym there, then the clouds of glory were there already, but did they follow them into the Yam Suf? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that the clouds of glory go there. You see that they actually stopped at the Yam Suf and prevented the Mitzrayim from seeing them for a certain amount of time. I made a barrier so they couldn't be seen, and then you see Yam Suf split, and you don't hear of the clouds anymore until on the other side.
Right, so maybe it was the protection instead of the clouds, right? That could be, definitely. So, okay, fine. So that would answer that ha'ara. Number 4 we just read was, okay, for the Mitzrayim, it tripped up their horses. Okay, then that was also, I guess, a benefit to Klal, so that they shouldn't be, obviously, they shouldn't catch up to them. Okay, that's number 4. Number 5, Chamishi, shekafu amayim yoysim midai, that the water got very, very hard, harder than regular ice. It was like stones, and it would pelt the Egyptians. And again, to keep them from chasing Klal Yisrael. Number 6, so that's 4 and 5. 4 and 5, we're focusing on the Egyptians. Number 6, ki nigzar hayam l'shneim asin nigzarim. That there were 12 different tunnels, we'll call them, and that each shevet got to go in their own tunnels. They went out separately through the Yam Suf. We say every Shabbos morning that there are many, many different tunnels they went through. The 7th, which is related to the 6th, it was clear. The water, the frozen water was clear. They can see each other. They knew they were all being saved. They didn't think that only they were escaping. So that's 6 and 7. Number 8, Hashmini shlo kafu amayim kulam kechaticha achas. So when the water froze, it didn't freeze in one piece. It was pieces, like leveina v'ariach agabe ariach. Like leveina ariach agabe ariach. It was more like, it actually looked like brick. When it froze, I think one of our Hagavas has that. Because it's from here. It says, the right to that is a pasuk also in Tehillim, atafararta ba'oz chayam. So it was like pieces, like bricks, which shows it's more of a seder as opposed to the water just freezing in a natural form. It was like brick layered with bricks. Okay, that also lavdafka was practical. Maybe it looked aesthetically more pleasing, or just showed HaKadosh Baruch Hu was very, very involved. Hachi, the ninth, Shemayim Mesukim Shebayam Leikafu. The sweet waters in the yam did not freeze like the other water. That was still noisel, that was still liquid. So when they want, they could drink. That's number 9. They drank the fresh water. And number 10, Asiri Achri Shliyasim Hayim Nikfan Miyad. After they finished drinking, whatever was left would freeze. So let's say you had water, I guess let's say coming out of the wall. So you go for a drink. Whatever you didn't drink would freeze before it hit the ground. So it wouldn't make the floor dirty. It wouldn't make the floor wet. It would fall like snow. Every time they wanted to drink, it was like that. So in a sense, actually, it's a question I always had. That we always say that they stuck their hand into the wall and they took out water, right? So I always thought, maybe the Archazals would say this, that it was liquid, but the liquid didn't move. It was like liquid in a container almost. The wall was liquid, but it just stuck there. My shaila always was, let's say one kid pushed another kid into the water, what would happen? Would he just like pop back out and be dry? We discuss this every Seder. Who would push who and what would happen? They'd just jump back out and it would be automatic dry clean. So according to this, they were saying that one of the miracles was there was like bricks. It sounds like it was ice. Everything iced up. Everything was hard like ice, except for the sweet waters which are coming out. And then that would dry and hit the ground. So that according to Yona, you won't be able to push your brother into the wall. So we'll have to add that to our list.
Maybe the controls that turned it into liquid were at such a height that only adults could access it.
There you go.
That makes more sense to me.
Right. The water cooler was higher up. Definitely.
You had to be at least 5'2" and be able to reach up.
Right. Okay.
Are we going off and on, or are we staying on for?
Stay on.